The Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I don't want to lose. I want to win.
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is Easy Sports Data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome to Sports Betting Weekly. I'm second half Chaz. I'm joined by Blackhawk. Well, technically, it's not as much Sports Betting Weekly this week as it is the Wes and Chaz Show on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, and on the Sports Betting Channel. Blackhawk West, we're going to hop right on live action, and then I could say hello to you later. So let's talk about NHL.
Yeah, so NHL, I was on San Jose in the points, the plus 1.5. They just popped a goal in. So, we're looking good there. I think you cashed on period one, St. Louis and Tampa. And I am now looking at the over going into the second period of the Colorado-Montreal. I'm on the under 6.5 for the game. But going into this second period that's about to start, I'm going to take the over 1.5 because I believe we'll get 2 goals in the second period.
All right. Yeah, we're looking good because they didn't score any in the first, so we've got 6.5 goals to give. So let's look at at Tampa Bay. That was a 1-0. And San Jose State, no, I'm not on San Jose State. I'm on San Jose State's team total. And that was 2.5. So that's a good start. Anytime you can get a goal, right, the first period, you're going to take that, correct?
Yep, of course. 2 more to go.
So let's look at getting into some live action on I always like when I start Sports Betting Weekly on Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and there's a certain number in my account, and then when I get going to the live action and I look, there's more than when I started. I like that. I'm funny like that. I just like having more money in my account than when I started. All right, so we're going to the Montreal game, and we're looking at the second period.
Second period over. And we're already in under for the game.
Right. It's minus a big number. It's minus 212.
Fine with me. We're getting 2 goals.
But what we're going to do is we're going to hop on the 2.5 as well with about half of the winnings if we get the 1.5. And that really, I'm telling you right now, this is the same exact strategy, guys, that works in soccer. When they give you multiple totals, say to yourself, what do you think it's going to be? And then make sure, and Wes, you use this all the time with your Chicago sports traders, option traders, Chicago option traders, COT, right? That's correct.
Yep, you got it.
And what that is as long as you get that first number, you can't lose. I had a soccer game recently that Paulo gave me where I was on a half, 1.5, and 2.5. And when I got it, I would say the half was probably about the same thing, minus 2 something. The 1.5 was plus 190, maybe 2 something, but the 2.5 was plus like 670 or something. And guess what? Bang, bang, bang. They scored 3 goals. Once they scored that first goal, you literally could go away and move on because you're not going to, unless you're getting greedy. And in soccer, it's kind of greedy to expect 4 goals in the final minute, or final minute. But you can get it, of course.
Well, right, like you said, you get that first cash. You take half of those winnings onto some plus money. And if you don't get it, you won anyway. If you do get it, cha-ching.
Exactly. All right. So then, of course, we got Thursday night football, which normally is not a game that you're going to play. But I do this thing called Easy Sports Data that's available on bellyupfantasy.com. So I will have action on that game. When the game starts, I'm on the unders. And so we're going to see how that goes. But I'm on the unders for a couple reasons, and I noticed that the line moved down, so I wasn't the only one on the unders. In terms of the NBA, did you give us any NBA plays?
No, I'm not. I am not in NBA yet. I probably will get there about Christmas.
John from GMF Sports Consultants, right? Because I did not give your credit is due on any of these picks. I just bet them all. So
that would be John.
I bet 1, 2, 3, 4. I bet 5 different bets. Most of them I bet more than once, and I didn't handicap any of it. That's just literally the confidence I have in the Sports Betting Weekly team and the Belly Up Sports crew, because you guys give me winners. So it was the under in the NBA game, OKC and Memphis, which just started. And then what about, and the under, that was from you, the Montreal under. And
yeah,
so I think John gave us the dog, Illinois, Chicago dog.
That was John.
Yeah, so what I did is I took the dog and I took Tampa Bay. I took Illinois, Chicago on the money line. And I took Tampa Bay on the -1.5 line. And I put them together. My goodness, the math that grows when you do that, it was really exceptional. I got to think it was 8 or 9 to 1 at this point that I was looking at. So far, so good. We'll see what happens with that one. And then, of course, let's talk to you about, because you have bet college basketball so far this season, but you don't have anything today.
I don't have anything today, and it's because I like NHL today, and at this point we've gone from a lot of CFL action, a lot of college football action, and now units have a bigger impact to the total portfolio for the week. So I don't have college. I don't have any college hoops today. Yeah,
and we're winding down. There's no doubt about it. There's only 4 teams left in Canadian football playoffs. There is I only have two pieces of paper, and I could have probably squeezed it onto one every single college football game this weekend. It was 7 or 8 pages last week.
And these are tougher ones. These when you're looking at these college games this weekend, most of them are trying to get the W. They're not trying to chase a point.
Right. There's no more status points. There's for sure. So let's plan on in our final segment, we're going to cover the NCAA. So we're going to put that away. Mo is going to join us, but Mo's not going to join us live. Mo is going to join us pre-recorded because he's a very busy man. He's got his own Mo radio show, but the dude is just, you've listened to him, Wes, you got to give him his props. He knows his stuff. And the bottom line is he hits some monster legs. I don't play the legs that he hits. I've gone up to 7. I think 7's the biggest I've ever hit. But he's doing a lot of the in-game parlays, and we've been talking about it all season, and now I'm seeing, all DraftKings and all those places talking about it. But he's been doing really, really well with them. So he's going to join us. But before he does, I think we should slide in to Canadian football. Really, right? We have 2 more times that we will talk about Canadian football.
We're going to talk now, and then we're going to talk next week, and that's a season, eh?
Hey, they don't skip a week, do they?
No, they do not. We'll have the Grey Cup next week.
All right, so let's do that. Let's just hop right into Canadian football. You know what? I'm telling you right now, it was a fun time. Now, don't get me wrong. We had a little bit of a surprise. I guess surprise would be the word last weekend because it's a team. I don't think we thought Sask was going to win, did we?
We were on Calgary, so we got the points. The early part of the season, we really liked Sask. They cashed a lot of tickets for us. And, I like going into this past week just how strong Calgary's defense was coming on. But, looking at that game, there were 6 total interceptions thrown. You don't have that many interceptions in a game. And oddly enough, Sask won, and their quarterback threw for 4 interceptions, which it's that's how good Cody is. But that was just a wild game, and it was 63 points total. That is very uncharacteristic of a CFL game, especially the number 2 ranked defense in the CFL.
Well, no, these totals this week are both 45-ish. And those are higher, 2 or 3 points higher than we've seen all season. There's no doubt about that. So let's do this. Let's start with 12:30 Eastern Time Sunday. That's nice. So this game starts before the NFL game kicks off.
It does. It does.
At Toronto. Now, this week, they're still playing at Toronto and Winnipeg, but for the Grey Cup, they go to...
Grey Cup is in Hamilton. So a Hamilton win, they actually will host the Grey Cup if they win.
How often does that happen?
It happens. I mean, it does happen. Just given the fact that there's a more limited amount of stadiums and there is fewer teams, so there's a better chance of it happening than in the NFL. The NFL, it's like a lightning striking kind of thing. So, looking at that first game tomorrow, this is a very difficult one because Toronto is undefeated at home. They also have.
I'm going to interject. Only because you said tomorrow, and I think you think we're on Saturdays in Canada. Thursday night. Now, so here's the thing. What is it? If it's 8:07 in New York City, it doesn't matter where you are. What time is it in New York City? If it's 8:07 in New York City, then these games are Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Sunday. Maybe I just want it to be tomorrow. Maybe I'm just ready for these games.
I like knowing that I'm going to have but I'm assuming, right, these games are going to be easier to find than normal.
Yeah, they are. This past week they were on regular television channels versus having to go through some apps and whoever your providers are.
I had both Canadian Football West and my San Diego State Aztecs on real TV.
How about that? So this weekend, this Toronto game, this Toronto-Hamilton, Toronto has beaten Hamilton 3 out of the 4 times they've played one another this season. And then, and at the same time, Toronto, they don't lose at home. Although what Hamilton just did to Montreal defensively, their defense is showing up. Brandon Banks, former most outstanding player, is showing up big. I know it's very weird that it's in football. We're talking about a wide receiver as a game-changing type winner. That it doesn't really happen in the NFL where the wide receiver is worth as many points. But this is a 1-point game, and I like Hamilton to go into Toronto and get the win. Toronto typically scores more at home, but this Hamilton defense is just humming along. So I think it's Hamilton. Take the points, take the money line.
All right, I'm gonna shout out some things at you. Just looking at our Easy Sports data, which is available on BellyUpFantasySports.com, and if you do go to Belly Up Fantasy Sports for that NFL, you're getting the CFL for free. Here's some things with Hamilton. Since they played in September, one team, that was Toronto, one team has scored more than 5 points in the first half on them. Here's their score since then: 3-0, 3-5, 3-4, 3-14, and that was the last time they played, right? The very last time. Yep. And then 0, and then 3. But that last game went over because they scored some. Remember, we were shocked how much they scored. They scored a lot of points. Up to that point, they had a incredible run of unders. Same thing when you look over at the games when they're on the road. So they played on the road this year 7 times, 6-1 unders. So I mean that's mostly coming from their defense. They're not really scoring that poorly, but they're not giving up a lot of points.
Well, and I think to give credit to what you're saying, this is going to be a weather game. We got 80% chance of heavy rain in this game. It's going to be, we're going to be in the upper 30s, and it's going to be raining heavily in Toronto. Both these games this weekend, actually, we can look forward to weather.
In the last 5 games, there's the Hamilton's first half points: 27, 15, 0 in the aforementioned Toronto game, 14 and 20. That's some high scoring football that we haven't seen consistently from any teams, really.
No, it is not.
All right, so you like Hamilton. If I'm using them, I got to go Hamilton and under.
Yeah, my main reason, again, the defense looks so good and expecting weather, and they're tired of losing to these guys, and they will host a Grey Cup.
Pretty crazy. Okay, then so later that day, and according to my CFL report here, It's going to be 1 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock Eastern. So you will get these games will not overlap.
No, they won't. There'll be some time in between. There'll be some high fives and trophies awarded. I mean, it'll be a thing.
And from strictly from a being totally selfish and not really caring about anybody but myself, I don't want to have to be in a position where I have to make a decision and then I get backdoored or something. I like the
of course,
and I can get and my book pays pretty quick. So.
Yeah. So looking at this second game, we're looking at Winnipeg against Sask. I will tell you, Cody Fajardo threw 4 interceptions last week. 3 of them were in the first half to the same defender. If you do that against Winnipeg, you will pay for it, and you will be out of this game before it even starts. My concern looking at this game, Winnipeg, for all intents and purposes, hasn't truly played in about 3 weeks. Remember, they clinched early, and then they went into the game 3 weeks ago, and they pulled starters. They started pulling starters in the second half. Then they went into the following week, and they had almost nobody in the game. It will be snowing in Winnipeg for this game. The question is how heavy. It's going to be potentially single-digit temperatures. It's going to be freezing. This Winnipeg defense is historically fantastic. So when you got a quarterback that is going into your house in the snow, throwing 4 interceptions to a Calgary defense that isn't anywhere near the quality of Winnipeg. Winnipeg has 2 of the top sackers in the league. I like the under in the first quarter because I think Winnipeg's offense is going to get off to a slow start, and I don't think Sask is going to score in the first quarter. So I like the under 9.5 first quarter. And then I like Winnipeg to just unload and cover the spread. The spread is 7.5 or 8, depending on where you look. I'm on the 7.5, but I think Winnipeg's going to win this game by double digits.
So Sask is currently on a first quarter 1-8 against the spread. The last 9 games, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Did I say that right?
You did.
Yeah, look at me. The bottom line is that's pretty poor. But the reason is they don't score. They scored 1 touchdown in those games. 1. 0-3-3-0-0-0-7-0-0. But when it comes to the first half, their numbers are a tick better. They're 7-2, losing. So they're 2-7 against the spread. But the number that jumps out at me is when I look at what Winnipeg does when they play in Winnipeg. And to say it's dominant. Now, remember, we talked about their second half run where they went they W and under for like a month in a row, every single game. They haven't lost. In the second half, they are perfect, undefeated, 8-0 against or 7-0 against the spread in the second half. They allowed in those games 17 points in 7 games. Now, let's look at sports where 17 points in 17 games is bad. I'm not soccer. I don't know. Maybe soccer. 17-7. I don't know.
I mean that's 2. That's roughly
in soccer.
I mean, in soccer that could be bad. 2 or 3 goals. Hockey, that's probably average.
Here's their last 4 second half scoring outputs. 21 against the same team they're playing. They played Edmonton. They put up 19. They put up 29 against BC. And then Montreal, they put up 17. That's an awful lot of points in the second half. And teams that, you know how I love second halves. You might know that about me. I like second halves. Because I believe that if you got a better coach, you're going to win the second half. How many times have we cashed on Belichick's teams over the last 10 years in the second half?
Oh, yeah. Too many times to count.
Same games, the numbers for the game, 33, 30, 45, 31. So they have not scored less than 30 points at home since August 29th. Wow.
That I had the AC on.
Yeah, there you go. No doubt about it. All right, so when we come back from break, first of all, we'll do a quick update. We're going to do a quick update, and we're going to look at let's look at the hockey games. You can get us an update on those 3 hockey games. We got Montreal, we got San Jose, and we've got who's the other one we got? Tampa Bay.
Yep. So we popped a goal in Montreal. So looking for that over 1.5. We're not even 4 minutes in.
2.5 works too.
Yep. So we're trending in the right direction, and Tampa St. Louis is still 1-0, and then San Jose and the New York Islanders are tied at 1, getting ready to start the second.
Okay, so when we come back from break, we'll have some updates on the college basketball that we already gave out. We got some NBA action, and we're just cashing tickets. But we already cashed 2 tickets, so that was pretty cool. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, the Sports Betting Channel, and we'll be right back.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At championshipfootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Grams is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort. You had a pretty good season, footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, 2 things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and championshipfootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. Championshipfootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, championshipfootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the championshipfootballs.com autographed footballs. Championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly, or as we're calling it this week, the Wes and Chaz Show, because John from GMF Sports Consultants is not available today, but he did give us some plays that we're going to cover. So let's do a quick update here for live action, because once we go out to Mo and we talk to Mo from the Mo Radio Show, we are not going to be talking. We're going to be watching and listening, because he's got some winners. He's going to cover some NFL for us. He's going to talk about a little bit about the coaching carousel. But do, Wes, pay attention, because when we get done with him, you and I are going to have hear your opinion on that same subject matter. So any updates in the hockey?
Well, I was going to give an update on John's call of the UIC Flames. He has University of Illinois Chicago. He took the 5.5 points, and it's 16-3. They're down by 3 right now. So in pure John fashion, he finds the most bizarre schools that nobody would think of and wins. So
yeah, we've got 3 or 4 guys that are part of the crew that are those small school guys. I always think of Jonathan from San Antonio.
Yeah.
Tom Vasco. The only downside is especially with those teams, is they're not getting in the tournament usually. They're not getting in a bowl game. So if you're betting small schools for basketball or football, your season's going to end a little earlier than the big schools. But, if you've cashed enough tickets along the way, Wes, do you really care?
No, sure don't.
You do not. Always fun to join Mo from the Mo Radio Show to talk a little bit of sports. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't care about much except the against the spread aspect of sports. But, Mo, we've had fun talking about other things before.
Yeah, we talk about things.
So you're in the Midwest. Talk to me about this whole Notre Dame, LSU, Oklahoma, USC kind of world we're dealing with coaches. What do you think? Do you have an opinion? Do you care?
Yeah, I mean, it's strange to see a coach and Brian Kelly leave a program where he still has a pretty good shot at getting into the college football playoffs. That's the strange thing to me. And Notre Dame, I think, made overtures to Luke Fickell, who is the head coach of Cincinnati, but he declined because he wanted to see through what he had there at Cincinnati. Notre Dame was a job along with Ohio State. He always said it would be hard to turn down if offered, but he's got a chance to play for the college football championship. I mean, a long shot to win it, but you got to respect the guy who stays there. Brian Kelly was on a recruiting trip for Notre Dame and texted the players that night to be there for a 7 a.m. meeting when the news had already broken. He was leaving. If I'd have been one of his players, I would have told him, "You got to kiss my ass," because I'm not getting up at 7 a.m. to listen to a guy who gave a 4-minute talk.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
talk.
Coaching at Notre Dame is a different animal because there are certain things you can't do that the schools like LSU can. There are certain requirements that your recruits have to meet that they don't have to meet at LSU or Oklahoma or Alabama. And, I think there are some fights. He just got tired of fighting. Plus, if you look at where he's compensated compared to other coaches, you look at Mel Tucker, who's done nothing so far at Michigan State, just get a ton of money. And, Brian Kelly, while he made about $5 million a year, you look at the other guys who have done less than him. And I think it was about the money at this point. He decided to take on that challenge and go to LSU where he could recruit anybody he wanted, and he's going to get paid handsomely to do it.
Well, no, I mean, a lot of the things that have come out were related to the fact that every single LSU head coach has won a championship, but yet none of them last more than a sneeze or two after that,
Yeah, and I think Lincoln Riley with USC, he decided that, Oklahoma will be moving to the SEC, which makes everything a lot tougher. When you're in the Big 12, Oklahoma has kind of owned the Big 12 for the, past 5 or 10 years. And moving to the SEC, I think, is something that would make his job a lot more difficult when you're going up the likes of Georgia and Nick Saban every year. So I think he found a spot where he can be in LA. You've got the cachet of being USC, and you're playing in the Pac-12. So if you can put together a good team that can stay undefeated, you've got a pretty good shot at going to the college football playoff every year. And you're the guy who gets to try to rebuild USC into what it once was. Now you have more competition because when USC was the powerhouse they were in the late 90s and early 2000s, they didn't have 2 NFL teams in town. So it's going to be a job there for Lincoln Riley. But, he thought that was the best situation for him. He's going to get paid very well to live in L.A. So he decided to make the move as well. And Bob Stoops, the former Oklahoma coach, will return to coach his former team in the bowl game.
Yeah, it's just a trippy world, no doubt about it. But, and it really is. It's so unfair to the kids, in my opinion. They can't do hardly anything, even though now at least they get their names, their image, and their likenesses back. So let's talk about the guys that actually get the checks right up front, or their spouses, or their ex-wives, or whoever gets it. Somebody's getting it. So talk to me about this week. Now, where we're at in the season is an amazing amount of parity, is it not?
Yeah, it's a strange time in the NFL because you had a team, like Arizona that jumped out early and stayed undefeated for a while. But I mean, if you made me pick the Super Bowl participants right now, I don't know that I could do it. There is an amazing amount of parity, in the NFL right now. It's going to be who's going to get hot at the right time towards the end of the season, and more importantly, who can stay healthy.
Yeah, we're going to see 4 teams play on our annual AFC NFC weekend in Las Vegas. That, of course, Mo, is a hint. But, I would not be willing to bet who those 4 would be right now.
No, I mean, I like Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and what they're doing. You've got another week for him to get healthy. The AFC is a division that nobody evidently really wants. The hottest team in the AFC right now is the New England Patriots with a rookie quarterback and Mac Jones. The NFC, you've got a ton of teams who are under 500 who are still in the running for a playoff berth. I mean, for God's sakes, the Atlanta Falcons could still make the playoffs, and they went 2 weeks with scoring 3 points. So it's crazy what's going on in the NFL right now.
So talk to me. Let's look at Sunday's games and then come up with a couple winners or a couple plays, because you've been into that craze that's sweeping the nation of same game parlays.
Yeah, it's paid off well. Last week I was so into my team playing Tom Brady and the Buccaneers that I didn't bet on anything. I watched, just focused on the entire game, and was so distraught afterwards that I made absolutely 0 plays last week. I was so disappointed at myself.
You know what? I cashed that in the team total over again for, I don't know. I got to think it's 12 of the last 14 bets I've made on that. It just keeps scoring points.
The last 2 times the Colts lost to top contending teams, the Titans and now the Buccaneers, they have a guy who should be the MVP probably at this point in Jonathan Taylor, because nobody else has really stood out. And all of a sudden, for the third quarter and half of the fourth quarter, they forgot he was on the team. He had 0 carries. And then he came in the fourth quarter and all of a sudden amassed 80 yards. Maybe we shouldn't have given up on that when we were ahead in the third and a half of the fourth. So, he's a guy that you can pretty much mark down every week, Chaz. If you're going to bet on an anytime touchdown scorer and going over 100 yards, that's the same game parlay. You can almost hit it almost every week.
That's really what I try to do always when I'm analyzing, is I try to find something and ride it. And the Colts have been great for me this year. I'd like to have 2 or 3 other teams or things, but we've got a few guys that are being consistent, but even with the players, I guess it makes sense. So if the players are having up and down weeks, then the teams are going to have up and down weeks.
Yeah, I mean, another good one is Leonard Fournette tends to always find his way to the end zone here recently and not rush for 100 yards at all, because he's also involved in the passing game. So I've continuously hit on Leonard Fournette from the Buccaneers to stay under 100 yards and to score a touchdown each week. And he's been coming through for me, 9 times out of 10. He's a guy who will get in the end zone, and he's not going to rush for a bunch because they have 2 running backs, and he does get a lot of passes his way too. So there's another guy that, that hits for me usually on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and he's a crunch guy when they're in the red zone too.
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. When they get down there, the ball's either going to him or Gronkowski. It's just one of those ones that I like to combine those each and every week, and it's been winning money for me.
Yeah, this week when you're looking at just the games, there's another week where even though there's still buys, there's a handful of games that are double digits basically. 9 points is double digits because you need 10 points to win.
Yeah, those higher point spreads are so hard to predict because you're going to see teams now start to rest starters in the second half when they get up big, and give these bad teams a chance to get a few points on the board, because now you take a team like the Rams, where Matthew Stafford is nicked up in different ways. Do you think if they get a lead that he's not going to take a seat on the bench? You saw Tom Brady not last week but a week ago spend the fourth quarter on the bench. A lot of people had no idea that Tampa Bay had a backup quarterback until they got up. So I think this is where those double-digit ones, to me, are going to get harder with this longer season, is you're going to see teams try to rest these older guys to prepare them for the playoffs.
Well, no doubt about it. All right, so let's look at Sunday's games and isolate a couple teams.
All right, give me a couple of your favorite games. I'll tell you what I like.
You know what? I looked at these games, and it's funny because the first game that jumped out at me was the Chargers-Cincinnati game, because these are both teams that, have winning records, but they don't feel like they should.
Well, they feel like two teams going in the opposite direction right now. Honestly, you look at Joe Burrow and that Cincinnati Bengals team. They have manhandled some teams this year. They manhandled a very good the AFC leading Baltimore Ravens. They took Big Ben in Pittsburgh last week and put a beating on him. So Joe Burrow has really found his stride as he's gotten back with his favorite receiver from his college days. And I like this team a lot. Their defense doesn't get a lot of hype, but they've got a fast defense that always seems to be around the ball. And Justin Herbert, and the Chargers are a good team. They've beat some good teams too, but they've taken some bad losses. This is a guy who's going to be a great quarterback in this league, who's a very good quarterback now. But like anybody, he's going through those up and down stretches. We've seen Patrick Mahomes do it. We've seen Lamar Jackson do it. We've seen, Tom Brady do it, quite honestly. He had a couple of games that the Bucs lost where he threw some bad interceptions and had bad games. So I think Herbert and the Chargers snap out of it. You got to remember you have a first-year head coach, and they play in a damn tough division. Let's be honest, there's not an easy team to beat in that AFC West. The Raiders, they're good. Chiefs, they're good. The Broncos are surprisingly good with a good running game. So I think that right now you're looking at teams that are trying to figure out what they're going to be. Are they going to be playoff teams? Or are they going to fall apart? I like Joe Burrow and the Bengals in this game. Until Justin Herbert comes out and proves to me he can put together a couple of weeks in a row, of good performances and start winning football games again. I got to go with the hot hand, and to me, that is Joe Burrow throwing those touchdown passes to Jamar Chase.
Yeah, and again, the Charger division, really, every single one of them has got to win a record, and that's not normally the case in a Kansas City division.
No, I mean, I think Denver is a surprising team right now. You've got two fabulous running backs on that team. You've got guys who can go catch the football, and you would think that the defense would have taken a hit after, they traded off their All-Pro Von Miller, but no, that defense has stepped up and played pretty darn good too. You've got the rookie quarterback and Patrick Surtain the second, who is trying to become a very good corner in this league. So, it'll be an interesting week. But I like the Bengals in this game.
All right, so Monday Night Football. If at the beginning of the season I went to Vegas and I said on December 6th, when New England and Buffalo meet, New England will have more wins, what odds would I have gotten, do you think?
Plus a lot, plus 1,000. I mean,
that had to be probably 80, 100 to 1. That
easy. I mean, you take a rookie quarterback who's got to learn Bill Belichick and his system, and who's not the easiest coach to get along with. A lot of players who leave there say they leave because they want to go have fun and enjoy playing football. But Mac Jones was the right pick. You look at a guy who has excelled more than anybody else from this rookie class, and it's Mac Jones. And if you look around, there's not a lot of playmakers on that team. It's hard to name other guys on that offense other than the quarterback. And they've gotten rid of some older defensive players who have played well for them. They jettisoned their All-Pro cornerback to the Carolina Panthers, 4 or 5 weeks back. But they're starting to figure it out. And, that's a team that Indianapolis plays here in a couple of weeks. And I'm more scared, I think, right now of them coming to town than I was of Tom Brady and the defending Super Bowl champions. The Bills are a team that you don't know week to week what you're going to get. You saw that team get manhandled by the Colts a couple of weeks ago, then come out and just lay, a whooping on Thanksgiving night. So the question is, what Josh Allen's going to show up. Buffalo lost their one of their top defensive players in Tre'Davious White for the season on Thanksgiving night. I'm going to take Buffalo, but it would be by the slightest of margins, just because I think Josh Allen's going to try to put this team on his back. Mac Jones is not to that point yet. I think to where we can rely on him to put a team on his back. Josh Allen's been there. He's a guy that will run and dive for a first down with Mac Jones. He's not that guy yet, and until he proves it to me, which he very well may too on Monday night, I'm going to have to take Buffalo.
All right. So before we let you go, we appreciate you coming in. You came in early this week to record a segment so we could talk and play it on the air for Sports Betting Weekly. However, when you're listening to this on Sports Betting Weekly, if it's somewhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock Thursday night, you're catching this live. So let's do a live play. You're coming out of the 7.5-minute mark of the first quarter, roughly, give or take. Dallas at New Orleans. Where do you think it's going to be? And give us one live action play. I'm going to bet it as soon as the video ends.
Well, I think what benefits Dallas in this game, honestly, is the fact that Mike McCarthy is not coaching this game, their head coach, a guy who has over his career been terrible at clock management. The offense, I think, has gotten stagnant the last couple of weeks. They will have Amari Cooper back on the field for him. They lost a overtime game to the Raiders on Thanksgiving. I think they've got something to prove. The Saints, to me, a couple of weeks out, Alvin Kamara, starting Taysom Hill. I would say I would play the over for the game. I would take parlay that with Ezekiel Elliott getting into the end zone and taking Dallas to win. So those three in that game.
There you go. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. Have a good one, my friend.
All right. So, other than the fact that I was struggling with the clicking the buttons for the video, what do we know? Well, we know since we left and we talked to Mo, we cashed another ticket because we got our second goal in the Montreal second period. I think Blackhawk West has still got his mic muted, but when he comes back, I want to talk to him about three things. I want to talk to him about the Betaway weekend. Betaway weekend. Betaway weekend. That's all I'm going to say. Betaway weekend. We have a great, great time. Remember, we go the AFC NFC Conference Championship Sunday. So we come in Friday, come out Monday. And for me, I'm old. So for me, a couple days in Vegas is a couple days. I had a streak of, I think 5 or 6 years in a row, Wes, where I got sick every single time. The flu one year, I was in the hospital, and the doctor says, are you run down and all? I said, I spent 24 hours straight drinking in Vegas. Yeah, I guess that'll run you down. And then the 2.5, we still have 2.5 on that Montreal, but it was nice because we got it at a plus number, and it's now a big-time negative number. And then the other thing is, okay, so I went in on the over. No, Mo likes the over. I like the under. So what I'm thinking is, I'm not changing that one, I don't think. I think the way I can piggyback on Mo is I could hop on Dallas. I think he's going to win this game. I really do. Do you have any opinions? I know you don't normally bet Monday night.
Well, and the start to this game is exactly why. Dallas was 6.5 when the game started. We're now halfway through the first, and it's now 0-0. And the spread is now down to 5.5, Dallas. And New Orleans just missed a field goal wide right. But had they made that, the play at that point would have been Dallas money line first half, because they're down by 3, and you probably could have gotten some plus money. But here we go again at 0. It's 0-0. So we're back to the pregame spread, which I didn't like.
Yeah, and I hopped on the under. So when I hear missed field goals, I'm like, I'm not going to lie to you. My pulse goes up a little. My heart rate, I'm sweating a little. I feel ears. My ears are getting a little warm underneath my headset here. I like winning. I like cashing tickets. So that's where I'm at. All right. So yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to go to break. And when we come back, I'm going to find a live play that I'm going to piggyback on one of Mo's suggestions. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly. And again, if it's, about 8:45 in New York City right now, you're catching us live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network and When we come back in a few minutes after that, you catch the Loudmouths. They'll be on tonight. I know they got a great guest. I forget who it was. And, of course, Belly Up Sports Podcast Network and the Sports Betting Channel. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I am second half Chaz. I'm joined by Black Hawk West. Really, technically, it's the Wes and Chaz show today because John from GMF Sports Consultant is not here. However, he's done okay. Let me tell you about some of the stuff John told us to pay attention. Well, first of all, it was the college game, right? He liked Illinois, Chicago. However, Oakland is starting to take control of that game, right, Wes? They're up by 12 at halftime. I think I'm going to sit tight. I'm still getting points. I think I'm going to sit tight on that for live action. Hockey, I think we got our 2.5 goals, did we? Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, there you go.
We got three goals were scored in the second period, and now we just need to stay under 4 goals in the third period in order to get that 6.5 under game.
Right. And again, you know what? I can't. So when you cash the first period under, then you cash the second period over. You shouldn't complain about what happens in the game because you've hit an over and an under in the same game, and now you got another under. You could see where people would want you to call 1-800-GAMBLER if you told them that's how you were betting. So I could totally appreciate that. But I'm still struggling with the football line on the Dallas Cowboys because I told Phil I'm going to make a live play based on what he sent over. And for right now, it looks like it's blacked out. So I don't have the game on here.
Dallas went for it on 4th and 2 and had a wide receiver wide open and just a bad pass. So Dallas turned it over on New Orleans 40. Now we're going down to 5.5 for the game. So this is a low scoring one right now. 39.5 is the game total right now.
All right. So I've got anywhere from 1.5. Dallas getting 1.5 all the way to Dallas giving 12.5. I got 5 bets that I can make. But it's really still close to that opening line. Wasn't the opening line 6 on this game?
6 and a hook.
Yeah, so it's 5.5 here. You know what? I'm going to sit tight. I'm going to find a way to get maybe we'll get that score you were saying we're going to get.
The line that I like that's moved now is I like laying the 2.5 Dallas first half because we're still 0-0 and that New Orleans offense looks really bad. So I didn't like it at 4.5, but at the 2.5, I think that's probably a play.
Yeah, I'm not getting that option right now. I'm just getting game, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So I am going to sit tight. I'm going to go back to the hockey. I love the fact that we cashed those 2 plays in live action in the second period. That was really, really a cool thing. Because now we cashed tickets, and we cashed 5 or 6 tickets already. We still got about 8 minutes. In 8 minutes, you could do a lot of stuff. I once had a 3 minutes where I won about $500 on the horses. So
sure.
All right, so let's do this. Let's get back and kind of regroup. I talked about the Better Way weekend. We're going to worry about that. The 2.5 was a winner, so it didn't matter that the odds dropped. But I got it at plus money. Anytime you're doing well, Wes, right? When you see something you have at one number and you wouldn't bet it at the number it is now because it's gone in your favor,
Right.
All right. Oh, the NBA game. John from GMS Sports Consultants gave us an NBA game. He gave us the under in Oklahoma City, Memphis. So let's see what we got. It was 47. It was 47 for the first quarter. And the over-under was 53.5. I don't know what we have for the over-under. I think we have 210, and now it's showing 205. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Live action, it's 205. I got under 210. I'd rather have under 210 than under 205.
Yeah.
Duh. I mean, this doesn't take math experts. Don't get me wrong. You're very good at math, but it doesn't take math experts to figure out you're doing good. Yeah, he's going to look at the numbers, All right, so let's talk about some of the things that Mo talked about, and because I've got a lot on our plate that we're going to cover here in the next, handful of minutes, Give me 30 seconds. The college coaching carousel, do you care?
I think it's exciting, but I don't think it's. I'm not really into doing the teams dirty. You know, Notre Dame, they had a shot at being in the playoffs, and they do take the coaching into consideration. I like the fact that Luke Fickell is staying put where he is. He's riding his team out. They're going to end up in the Big 12 and a Power 5. So I think Lincoln Riley, I think that's a home run. USC is going to win a natty in the next couple of years. That needed to happen. College football is better when USC is relevant.
Yeah, and they're not. You know, the funny part about it is of the handful of coaches, who would have thought two of them had Cincinnati ties, right? Luke, and that's where he came from when he went to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
All right, so talk about your contest. You're still way above 500 on your contest in Vegas. I know you had a couple of weeks that hurt you, but you weren't alone. Everybody had a couple of weeks. Do you have your plays yet for the contest?
I don't have them yet for the contest. I'm looking at them. There's some big lines this week, and I will tell you the one that I like right now is the Chargers, and I like getting the points with the Chargers, especially Cincy traveling across the country, coming off of a win against what I think is a very inept Pittsburgh team. Cincy is a good team, and I agree with everything Mo said that they're going in the right direction, but big win like that against the talent of Pittsburgh, kind of overstated, going across the country. I really do like the Chargers in that spot. That's my only pick locked in.
The bottom line is that was a dominant performance, but I have a best friend that's a Pittsburgh fan, and he told me that before the game. He said they're going to get whacked.
Yeah.
All right, so but Chicago options traders, right?
Chicago options trader. We had
they join that, and they can get your plays, and they can find out who you have in the circa. And you've had you've had some mind-boggling weeks on there recently.
Yeah, we have, and this is a week where this past week the market's been pretty up and down based off of some COVID news and things like that, and a lot of guys making money even when the stock market is down, and then you get my plays, and I'm putting a lot of live plays out there.
Yeah, I always tell my wife, I said, sweetie, I never have a problem when I get screwed on a backdoor or an extra point gets missed because somebody won when I lost. And that's the nature of the beast. You got, if you got to make money in the down market and you got to make money in the up market. Otherwise, you're half the time you're losing money.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk NCAA. Right?
Let's do it.
What's it, 10 games?
Yeah, it's conference championship weekend. So some of these games, they just need to win. Some of the games, they're still trying to make statements, for the final vote. Some of these players, depending on their situation, some of these players have already announced they're going in the NFL draft, and who gives a rip about it. So I like this week, and the games that I'm the most passionate about are not the sexiest games. But I'm looking for value, and I'm looking to cash tickets. The first game that I'm on in the morning is I'm looking at the Kent against NIU, and I would be on NIU if they had their starting quarterback and starting running back, but they don't. And looking at the way Northern Illinois played the last game, they can't do a thing on offense without Lombardi, their starting quarterback. So Kent can move the ball. Kent can move the ball in the air. And to lay 3.5 points, I think Kent is going to be the MAC champion.
All right. So do you remember what line we got on the 2.5 over in the San Jose Sharks when the game started?
It was minus. No, I think it was minus 110. I think it was just a regular old number.
Well, it's plus 132 now, so I'm going back in.
Yep.
And, there's 25 minutes left in that game, and I need 2 goals. I think I'm going to go back.
So the other NC2A game that I like, and again, it seems like the whole world, the whole college football fan nation is just assuming that Georgia is just going to spank Alabama. And I'm saying don't overthink it. Nick Saban has only lost twice against former assistants. And if you just look at this year, what happens when Bama comes off of a loss or a near loss? The first time they flirted with a loss, they came back the following week and won 63-14. Then when they actually lost, they came back the following week against Mississippi State, which is not a joke of a team, and beat them 49-9. So they're coming off of a game where it took overtime, quadruple overtime for them to actually win that game. Now they're going to play against Saban's former assistant. I like Bama in the points. I like Bama winning the game outright. I think Georgia will be the national champion, but I think they're going to have to beat Bama next month in order to do it. Bama's winning this game on Saturday.
Yeah, here's what I got. I got a 3-teamer: Houston, Alabama, and Iowa, and it's plus 7,500. I think.
On that Big Ten, I will
see Michigan slipping on the ice after that win. Totally.
I could totally see it too. And these are two Big Ten teams that, they're always kind of in it, always kind of around their big brand. So you think that there's something. I could see them Hawkeyeing and I can see them Wolverining. And, I would love to see Michigan get into the playoffs just to have the Big Ten represented. But I agree with you. I could see them falling face flat on the ground and then the Harbaugh drums start banging again.
No doubt about it. All right, we're out of here. The Loudmouths are next. You've been listening to Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, and the Sports Betting Channel. Always be cashing.
Always be cashing.